Thank you. My questions have changed quite a bit since being here yesterday and today, and I thank everyone for what they brought to the table. And
imagine what it is from lifetime to lifetime.
And the joy part that you just said. And so I do have, like, my dead relatives that help me out a lot. You know, I feel that my brother...
An affectionate term, we know.
Yes. Yeah. My brother, who transitioned, when I was in 79, is helping me greatly with work I'm doing now, reminding me to have more fun. And my mother helps me quite a bit. And my dad is getting closer to transitioning.
He won't be much help. No, he really will.
Well, I was wondering, afterwards, would he be more help than he has?
Way more.
My whole life. I mean...
Way more.
Because
But that's pretty much true of everyone.
Okay.
No matter how well-meaning they are.
Yeah. Okay, great.
You know, the help that you allow from them is dependent upon how you choose to see them. And what happens when people make their transition is you usually keep thinking of them as they have been. Quite often, Esther will ask the question. She will ask it of Jerry. She will say, I know what you would have said, but what are you now saying? Because she knows there's a difference. He had some guardedness and some protectiveness and some caution. He liked the balance of their life experience, and he wasn't open for a lot of adventure that now she knows that he's open for.
That's exactly what I'm feeling right now. As, you know, not like, Dad, I want you to go, but it's like I'm almost excited that that relationship it's eternal and it'll be even better.
Yeah.
So I thank you for that. And then back to what we were saying about teaching. I've always been in sort of a scientific world as a dentist, and then I created these storytelling shows that we talked about before, and it's huge in my community. It's community within the community, and people have been drawn to me to learn how to do storytelling. But what's naturally come up to teach is the connection and the relationship, and then most importantly, the preparation before you open your mouth.
It's what you've done before you show up at the table that is primarily the reason for what happens once you're there. In fact, your preparation before you show up at the table can sometimes affect who else shows up.
That's what's going on. Because just like here, it's like I don't have a website, I've never pushed it or forced it. It's just like it's who's ever attracted to it. And I can feel the love and see the love, and it's all about the love.
That's the way.
Then it's supported by the people who appreciate it.
Yeah.
So don't have to force it or chase it. And it's expanding and growing. And I get to just like see the love, be the love, feel the love. And I think it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Well, you've got your sights on the joy, and the growth is taking care of itself, and the freedom is a non-issue. In other words, you're so free you can choose what feels good or what chooses bad, so you're right on it.
And that was all following a path that was coming to me. It was like a year before that, I would have storytelling. Oh, I'm a dentist, I'm a scientist.
The inspiration came, you felt the enthusiasm for it, and because you'd already tuned yourself to move in the direction of what felt good, you weren't confused about whether you should or not.
Right, and the decisions are coming, that's lit up, and it's not linear, it's all this way.
And it's not either or, is it? You can have it all.
Right, thank you for that reminder. Thank you. Two other very quick, I'll try to be quick. Meditation, you've been talking about a lot. But I'm not hearing...
Only because it's the key to everything you want.
And I agree.
But don't let that influence you.
Life changer, game changer. But I'm not hearing you talk a lot about your guided meditation so much anymore.
Let's talk about that. Okay. So we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of this day, about when to turn the juice on. If you're trying really hard when you're focused upon the absence of what you want, everything you do is counterproductive. So affirmations, when you're not in sync with what you want, don't help. In fact, they hinder.
I've gotten opposite results.
And you can feel that because it's hard. They're tiring. They're draining. They just annoy you. But when you are in alignment and in sync, and then you are receiving and offering your own statements and receiving and offering your own statements, then momentum builds. So this is the way we would approach meditation. Initially, no matter what you've been doing or where you are, for the next week or two, we would sit with the intention of quieting our mind. And this is how we would do it. We would do it first thing in the morning before too many active juices get activated. We would make ourselves comfortable in an environment where we are not likely to be interrupted. We would focus on our breathing, maybe, or on some not interesting but obvious and consistent sound in the environment. Barking dog, not a good idea. It might bark and it might not. But something like, listen here. Hear that hum from the air conditioner? And sometimes you can hear it from a condenser. Sometimes it's your refrigerator. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you can manufacture it in some way. But some consistent but not interesting something to focus upon. In other words, you wouldn't find yourself listening and thinking, that's a really poor hum. Or, I liked the hum yesterday better than this hum. You wouldn't be challenging it. It's just something in the room that you can focus upon. And as you do, you'll notice, maybe, that your ability to hear it becomes keener, which is a little interesting, but you're still focused upon that. And as you focus upon something that is not likely to activate a train of thought, your thought processes will become less and less active, especially if you start in the morning before they've really gotten very active. And then your vibration will rise, although you will not necessarily be aware of it, although you may feel more elation and you may find yourself breathing more deeply because now you're in sync with your inner being. Your inner being may be offering the impulse to breathe. And when that happens, you can pretty well be assured that you've made a connection. Might be not a strong one, but it's enough of one. So then, do that every day for 15 or 20 minutes. And somewhere early on in this process, it is our promise to you that when you feel that detachment, Esther says, I cannot distinguish my nose from my toe. Feels like I might be floating, but I don't want to open my eyes to see. It's a feeling of numbness. Sometimes you call it numbness. It's some detachment. It's some difference than the way you usually feel in your body. And you'll know it. So once you accomplish that nearly every time you sit or every time you sit to meditate, then you can begin to expect that about the time that you're coming out of your meditation, as you are beginning to allow yourself to come back into your consciousness, as your mind becomes a little more active and ready to receive, you will think of something. It will feel like you thought of it. You didn't think of it. Your inner being thought of it, but you received it. So what's the difference? And it will feel interesting or like a good idea. And if you will acknowledge that and then follow the impulse of that, and you do that consistently as you're coming out of meditation, you will discover that your inner being is leading you rather swiftly on an interesting path towards several things that are in your vortex that you know you want. They're things that you know. It won't be a mystery as they unfold. You'll say something to yourself like, so that's what that was all about. And it's the path of least resistance because your inner being can't lead you directly to some of that stuff because you've got beliefs or thoughts you keep thinking that prevent you from receiving that. So sometimes your inner being guides you over there and then over there and then over there and over there, and then you end up where you're wanting to be, but you had to take a sort of different route in order to get there because you're too smart for your own good. All right. So you're following that. So we would do that for a while. What the meditation CD is, maybe you've seen it. It's a CD and a book really worth reading, whether it's downloaded or whether you are listening with the CD with your earplugs in. It has been specifically created to accomplish the same thing that listening to this sound in the room accomplishes. It has a musical rhythm that is 3 long breaths in and then 5 long breaths out. In and what's out are different in length of time. You'll adjust to it. You'll get so you're good at it. The recording is subtle like inner being is, which means it takes some practice to get into the rhythm of this, which means it takes some focus, which will distract you from the things that are bothering you. So like the listening to the not interesting sound in the room, it will lead you to alignment. And then, in that alignment, as you then begin to perceive the words that have been so precisely and so deliberately chosen to express to you about relationships and about your physical body and about your financial well-being. As you listen to each of the segments is 15 minutes. So as you choose the one, there's one that's just general well-being. As you choose the one that feels most relevant to what you're reaching for, you will be more consciously involved with the vibrational frequency of your source than you usually are. So it's equivalent to doing affirmations once you're already tuned in. It will cause you to practice a vibration of abundance like you've never done it before. It will cause you to own abundance for the time that you are listening to it. You'll find your mind thinking about abundance with no resistance within you for the time that you're hearing it. But we don't recommend it be your first step into it. We recommend that your first step in is that you know that you've accomplished alignment with your inner being. Because if you haven't, you might fight with the words. As Abraham says to you, the world is awash in money. You might say, get lost. It's not where I am. If you find yourself arguing with the words that are on it, you weren't in alignment. Good enough?
Very good, thank you. One more money thing. I've noticed a shift. It happened just recently with appreciating. When money comes in, spend a little more time to appreciate often a different source than I expected. So if I'm focusing on wanting money and focusing on the why, because something needs to be paid off or need expenses or things like that, I'm on the wrong end of the stick still.
You are, but you could get to the other end. In other words, maybe not in that moment, but why do I want it? Because I adore freedom and I adore choices. And I like that frisky feeling of options. And I like the flowing of well-being. And I like to see it wherever I look. I like to see abundance being expressed in physical terms. And I like turning thoughts to things. I like the idea of this feeling of prosperity translating into something that is tangible. Just tell yourself the story until it resonates with you.
Okay.
Good.
Very good. Thank you.